Hey, hello! Welcome to our GoPro playlist on our YouTube channel, where we help you guys out with a lot of tips, tricks, and also with a lot of adventures from our or other PADI Pro candidates or PADI Pros. Today I'd like to talk to you guys about a specific skill from the open water course, which is the hover. The hover is a very important skill, of course, because it touches on the essence of scuba diving. Also, you can see it's very important because you will see it in different places through the PADI system, which means you will find it in confined water dive number 3, you will find it in open water dive number 2, but you will also find it in the peak performance buoyancy specialty and in the dry suit specialty as well. So what we're actually trying to teach our students is to just float around, hover around effortlessly without moving. Or officially, hover using buoyancy control for at least 30 seconds without kicking or sculling. This is very important because first of all, it will lower your air consumption. It will avoid you from getting entangled in plants or something growing on the seabed. It will also protect the underwater environment, of course, and it will prevent you from disturbing visibility. The hover is actually a skill that builds up on the skill that your students have learned before, which is the fin pivot, or achieve neutral buoyancy within the pool in confined water dive number 2. The actual difference is that with the fin pivot, your students will still be touching the pool, the floor from the pool with their fins, and with the hovering, they're not allowed to touch anything. Okay. The hover comes in 2 different forms. The normal one with the low pressure inflator, and also the one with which you will inflate your BCD orally. The normal one would be the one your student would normally use during a dive, and the oral one would be the one where they would need it to solve a problem with a low pressure inflator and to be able to surface safely. As you can see in the instructor manual, there's not a lot of performance requirements for the actual hover skill, because your students need to be floating, which means they can't be touching the surface, they can't be touching the bottom of the pool either, and they can't use their hands or their feet to adjust their position in the water. On top of that, of course, you have the specific performance requirements for whichever course you're doing, which means in the confined open water, for the open water course, they need to hover for at least 30 seconds, which means if they touch the surface, if they touch the bottom, you need to start recounting the time that they will be hovering. For the open water in the open water course, in the open water dive, there are no performance requirements related to time. So if they hover for 20 seconds, they're good to go and you can sign them off. In the peak performance buoyancy specialty, the hover will be 1 minute, and also in the dry suit specialty, the hover, although be it probably in a different position, it will also be 1 minute. If you read the performance requirements, you can see that the actual position in which your students will need to hover is not important. They can hover whichever way they want. In the parachute position, or they can go in the Buddha position, upside down, backwards. It doesn't matter which position they are in. It's very important to make sure they understand, because otherwise they will always keep moving their hands to try and stay upright within the hover. And to be able to demonstrate this properly, it's very important that when you are in doing a PADI skill circuit, it's very important to make sure that you always have the same weights, the same suit, the same tank, to make sure that you're comfortable demonstrating this skill. Within the PADI instructor development course, you will see that the hover does not have a lot of different possibilities for mistakes. So it's not too complex to actually teach the skill to your students, but it can be a bit of a dangerous one. Because the only mistakes your students can realistically make will be moving their hands, moving their feet, float up, or touch the bottom, which are very easily recognizable and very easy to solve as well. The thing you really need to pay attention to within your instructor development course is that they will meet their performance requirements on time. So you need to be 100% sure from which course and which dive you're teaching the hover for them. Because if you think you're teaching confined open water from the open water course, but it might be the peak performance buoyancy specialty, you've got a problem with the 30 seconds and the 1 minute. If you pay attention, this is not a very difficult skill to teach. The signals typically used for the hover skill are either hovering, like this. Some people use hover like this as well. The way you would normally organize is to make sure that all your students are in a nice little line in the corner of the pool, or maybe in a corner up against a wall, where your dive master will be sitting on one side, and of course you will be demonstrating and then taking the skill one student at a time. Make sure that you use the right signals as well for your students to understand what it is that you want them to do. So one of the signals you might want to use is, for example, don't move your hands. One of the signals you might want to use is continue if they've actually accidentally touched the bottom once whilst hovering, so they continue the hover until they reach the 30 seconds or whichever time you're looking for. Another signal would be going up, nope. Going down, also no. So now you should be able to comfortably and confidently teach the hover skill within any course that we've discussed so far. Of course, this is very important because, as we've said in the introduction as well, the hover is one of the most important skills to make a confident and able diver. So it's up to you to teach your students properly. If you're interested in any more tips and tricks or adventures from your colleague PADI Pro students, please make sure to subscribe to our PADI Pro playlist on our YouTube channel, and then we'll see you next time for some more information about the open water course.